Welcome back to another season of the House of Hoosier podcast, presented by the Field of 68 Podcast Network. I'm Ian Plaskoff. Joining me, Noah Gerkey, new co-host this year. We'll get into that later, but what better way to start another season of House of Hoosier than being in the House of Hoosier here in Simon Scott Assembly Hall in front of 5 legends. One more legend right here. Noah, it's time for your honorary self-rant to introduce yourself to the Hoosier fans.
Let's make this pretty simple. First off, I'm from Lafayette, Indiana. That may strike people the wrong way. I grew up about 10-15 minutes from Purdue. Already not making a good start. But growing up an IU fan, my mom went to IU in South Bend. I've been an IU fan my whole life. I've heard everything possibly said about an IU fan living in Purdue territory. And despite some of my friends maybe having more regular season success with Purdue, we've seen the same amount of national championships in my time. And so I love IU basketball. I've always been an IU basketball guy. I'm really excited to be a part of it this year. My rant isn't necessarily much of a rant, but more so just like a get to know me.
That was well done. I'll give you. When I was doing it last year with Austin Platt, it was a little bumpy, but you did a good job.
Thank you.
Good start. For those who have not seen me or new to the podcast, I'm Ian Plaskoff. I was with Austin Platt last year here on the House of Hoosier and couldn't be more excited to be back for year 2. I'll have access to the team, covering the team for IUS TV Sports. Noah should have access to the team as well throughout the season, so we are going to have you covered from pressers to game coverage, everything you could possibly want here on House of Hoosier. We'd also like to give a big thanks to Henry Thuss, our new producer this year, who's helping us out and giving us a lot of helpful tips, social content, direction with the filming, everything of the sort. So Noah, there's a lot that changed with Indiana basketball. There's a new coach, new players, new energy. And there's, this offseason was kind of a tale of two sides. We left off last year with the hiring of Darian DeVries, Mike Woodson exiting. Just your first impressions of the new energy that surrounds this program.
Well, the new energy around Darian DeVries is that he seems very fan-oriented. We already saw the event on Kirkwood. We saw the scrimmages, a lot of access within the media, within the fan base, trying to engage a fan base that kind of seemed lost under the end of Mike Woodson's tenure. And that's something we're not used to seeing. We're not used to seeing open scrimmages on Kirkwood events, buying people's drinks at upstairs. I mean, this just seems like a lot more lively energy for Darian DeVries and this Indiana program that's kind of been needing life over the last few years.
Now, you are a newcomer in the media world. You are also one of many newcomers that surround this program. There is not one scholarship player that is a returner from last year. I mean, that it's one thing, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's also it's exciting. We have no idea how this team is going to be. Never seen them really play against another team other than the Puerto Rico trip. To me, I just can't wait to see what they're able to do. This is exhibition week. We're filming this on Tuesday. Marion game is on Friday. Really excited to see this first impression of the new roster.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he brings in, Coach DeVries does, a lot of talented players from maybe smaller universities, some Sam Houston State, some Drexel, Elon, but they've all competed against high-level competition in their non-cons. And it's always an issue, even with freshmen coming in, which we only have one true freshman, maybe two, I believe, coming in, of meshing, team chemistry. How does this team get together? And it's a lot of new names for Indiana fans to get used to. There's not that 3rd or 4th year senior who's been at IU that you can kind of hang your hat on. It is going to be intriguing to see the style of play difference as well, and how these guys' personalities, how their style of play kind of matches and meshes together. We're really close to game time, obviously Friday, we're a few days away, and then Baylor about a week from Sunday. We're going to learn a lot about this team quick, but it may be a little bit of an elongated process than people are used to.
Yeah, I kind of want to revisit the Puerto Rico trip because not everybody was healthy, but we were able to see a pretty good glance of what this team has. They beat Universidad de Bayamón. They beat Mega Superbet twice, 93-71 and 81-80 against Mega Superbet, a team from Croatia, I believe. But one of those wins was a comeback victory. They trailed by 20, and I believe that was a 93-71 win. Just went on a tear in the second half. And something that we saw with Mike Woodson teams in recent years was when they go down, it doesn't tend to come back up. But it was an exhibition, but it was a good sign for what's to come.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of positive energy, and they shoot a lot of three-point shots, and we saw that. With Mike Woodson's tenure, there weren't a lot of three-point shots, and especially on the road, if one thing didn't go their way, it wasn't that, okay, let's bounce from it. it was kind of a rollover type of situation. You saw mistakes start to pile on rather than flipping the script. And I didn't get a chance to watch the Puerto Rico games. A lot of fans didn't. But you just look back at the numbers, trailing by about 18 to 20 points, and then going on almost a 40-point run, I believe, in that exhibition. Kind of shows you the mentality that this team has. They're trying to get to learn each other. They're trying to prove they can compete at the highest level because, as we've already mentioned, it's a brand new team, and there's a lot of unknowns. You're trying to prove a lot, not just to yourself, but to the Hoosier fans that have to back this team this year.
And Noah, you talked about Darian DeVries' emphasis on fan engagement. That's something that's coming from the athletic department, something that DeVries has bought into. Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood, that was awesome. I mean, the fans were there. The court was cool. Trent Sisley making that shot from the balcony up on the above the Five Guys. I mean, that was tremendous, and I think that's just a sign of the new direction that this team is looking at.
There's no better way to get your fans involved than visiting one of the more historic sites on campus. They're by the sample gates. You're on Kirkwood, almost the heart of Indiana's campus, at least with the student community as well. And getting them in front of basketball in a free event, it showcases the team. You have a little fun with the three-point competition. You get some good music, some fireworks at the end. The fan engagement's there. That event was more so for the students than it was the general public, I would say. And that's a huge thing. You've seen how students have bought into Coach Signetti in football and starting to sell out Memorial Stadium, along with the general public. But now it's getting a crossover season. You got to get people excited about basketball as well. And Darian DeVries has done a fantastic job of that early on in his tenure.
Let's dive into DeVries a little bit. 31st head coach in Indiana basketball history, 49 years old, 24 years at the Division I level. 1 year at West Virginia last year, very successful at Drake before that, and the big emphasis is not only is he modernizing the status of the program among students, among the university with engagement, his style of play is about as modern as it gets.
Yeah, they're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to move the ball. They're going to get up and down the court. It's not going to be a slow, methodical pace that a lot of Big Ten teams are used to seeing. I probably compare his style of offense to like a Big 12 team like West Virginia was. They're going to get up and down the floor. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to basically live or die by the three, but they emphasize themselves on taking good shots and making good shots. And if you look at the guys he's got added to the roster this year, if you combine the three-point makes that they all had last year, it's towards the top of the country.
Now, as we continue this big season preview episode here, we'll go through DeVries we just did. We'll get into the staff here because staff is extremely important for recruiting, for philosophy, and Darian DeVries has quite the group with him. Drew Adams was formerly an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator for Wes Miller at Cincinnati. 7 years at Bradley as an assistant before that, so kind of coming up from the mid-major ranks into a Big 12 program, same path as DeVries, but different schools. Rod Clark, a different path, 4 years under Rick Barnes at Tennessee, one of the greatest head coaches really that this sport has ever seen. Kenny Johnson, assistant at Georgetown in 2024-25 before coming to Indiana, but has some Indiana connections. He was an assistant under Archie Miller at Rhode Island, also under Tom Crean here at Indiana from 2012 to 2014. And Nick Norton has been with DeVries for a while. He was with him for 3 seasons at Drake and was the assistant and director of player development last year at West Virginia for Darian DeVries. Now we don't really want to go back to the past, but it's important to take a look also where Indiana staff last year ended up because these are some interesting spots. Mike Woodson, Sacramento Kings associate head coach back in the NBA, fitting his Twitter handle, Mike Woodson NBA. Yasir Rosemond has made his way to Oregon on the staff, Kenya Hunter at Texas, and Brian Walsh at Ohio State. Anything stand out to you about that group of 4?
The fact that those are all 4 major landing spots for a coach to go. Oregon, Ohio State, back in the NBA with Mike Woodson, where he found most of his success as a coach. That kind of stands out because the staff caught a lot of heat last year for the way they kind of handled this season. And then you see these big-name programs with coaches like Dana Altman and big other programs, and they're bringing on the IU staff that caught so much criticism last year. That's kind of intriguing to me that they were able to go in such high major program situations.
And I think what adds, the players are all new, but so is the staff, and they haven't worked together as a staff before. We know kind of what the philosophy is of playing fast, shooting threes, that first 12 seconds offense, and then trying to emphasize steals and turnovers, transition play. But this staff really is interesting on the recruiting trail as well. I know Kenny Johnson has those connections out in the DMV area Darian DeVries already has locked down a commitment from Chase Branham in the 27 class. Prince Alexander Moody. I want to talk about Prince Alexander Moody for a second. He has textbook done the right things to become a fan favorite. I mean, the social media engagement is fantastic.
He might be the biggest supporter of IU athletics that isn't currently on campus. He's a recruit coming up from Darian DeVries, and he is maybe the most active IU basketball player or future IU basketball player we've seen on Twitter, and it's nothing but positive things about Indiana. It's under other recruits, come to Indiana. This is the place you want to be. You want to be great, come here. IU football, you'll always see him underneath of it. The Hoosiers are doing it again. This guy lives and breathes Indiana athletics more than we've seen from any player or recruit on the social media side of things. He's becoming a fan favorite well before he's even set the set on the court behind us.
I can't wait for him to get here because the crowds, I remember freshman year Gabe Cupps and the crowd draw that he had, and it's just going to be really, really fun to watch. You didn't really see many players too active really in any sport on social media, and then you have these recruits trying to recruit other players, and it's just great. The video of Branham committing with Darian DeVries, that was really heartwarming to see as well.
Yeah, he comes and tells him, hey, I'm going to play here, and it's a big hug, it's a lot of energy, and it seems like DeVries cares more, not necessarily more about the players in the program, but it's a family type of thing. He wants you to feel seen and feel appreciated and buy into the program. And we talked about their activity on social media. Prince probably played a pretty big role in Branham committing here as well. Maybe we'll see that social media activity die down once he gets on campus and they've got maybe some of the regulations for the players, but at least so far he's earning his way to become a fan favorite the moment he steps inside Assembly Hall.
You know, in the new age of recruiting, it's so important to have connections. Like, locking down a commitment isn't just a commitment for someone to play for your team. You also now have a new advocate because all the prospects are friends. They all play with each other on these circuits. It's pretty much a given that they're going to talk to each other. So locking down guys early, like Moody, it could play a role.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a familiarity with other recruits. They're on the recruiting trail, and they also know what the process is like, and having people reach out to tell you what a program stands for, what their experience with the program recruiting is huge. That way, oh, how was your visit to Indiana? Oh, it was great. I loved it. That's an instant feedback that now I want to take a visit to Indiana and see what it's like for me as well. So getting early recruits in the class as well. We're really early in the recruiting circuit for 26, 27. We're very early on. Getting those recruits nailed down that love Indiana basketball and want to be a part of it is huge for Coach DeVries in the future of the program.
So now here's the reason why most of you probably tuned in. There are 13 scholarship players that some of you may not know, and it's a brand new roster, fully revamped, and the transfer portal is a beautiful thing for new head coaches coming into new programs. So we're just going to break down player by player, little introduction, not too much in depth. We'll go more throughout the season, but here's a bit of what to expect for this 2025-26 Indiana basketball roster. So guards, we talked about the three-point shooting, talked about the fast pace of play. This is where it all starts. Josiah Miles, Jason Drake, Lamar Wilkerson, Connor Enright, Tayton Connerway, Nick Dorn, and Alexa Ristich. A really solid group, and guys that have come from all over the place. We'll start with Miles.
Yeah, Josiah Miles, one of the more dynamic guards we're going to see on the roster. He averaged almost 7 rebounds last year from the guard position. He was one of just 2 players in the country to score 450 points, grab 200 rebounds, and hit 75 threes. The percentage wasn't necessarily there from 33.5% on 230 attempts, but he had big scoring games against South Carolina, against Georgia Tech, Nebraska. He's a dynamic player that you may see play 1 through 3 for this Indiana team. He won't be a straight-up point guard. He might play anywhere throughout the rotation for Coach DeVries. He's able to compete with the best. He showed it last year, and he's just a big, physical, athletic guard that's willing to play tough and go grab rebounds.
I think that's really key because this Indiana team is not necessarily big. There's one listed center on the roster, Reed Bailey, 6'10". You're going to need guys who are physical and who can rebound, and Miles may not start, but he could make that impact off the bench. One of 2 North Florida transfers on this Indiana roster, and Miles, a All-ASUN third-teamer last year, started all 32 games with the Ospreys. We'll move on. Jason Drake, another mid-major guy taking the step up.
Yeah, he was at Cleveland State and then went to Drexel. Had a pretty nice year, 42% from the field, averaged 11 points. Shot nearly 40% from three on 101 attempts. He's hunting that three-point shot. If he gets a good look, he's going to take it, and he knocked it down with some pretty good success last year. It's one of those things where this team is so different and so new, and they all have their own different styles. He's one of those guys you can plug and play. He's not going to hunt a shot, but if it's there, he's going to shoot it. He's going to knock it down, but he's not going to go off the dribble by himself and take a shot.
Drake, 6'2", 195 from Oak Park, Michigan, played at Cleveland State in the 2022-23 season, then went to a community college, Butler Community College, 23-24, Drexel 24-25, and then up to Indiana, 25-26. That's a really interesting career path.
It's like one of those MLB pitchers that's kind of been everywhere, like a journeyman, like a Rich Hill almost, and it gives you that experience of playing with different dynamics. Obviously, playing with Indiana is going to be a little bit different than playing with Cleveland State or in a community college and things like that. But it kind of builds your fortitude and builds the type of player you are playing at this lower levels and then working in a different type of roles.
So Drake and Miles are probably going to be two guards that come off the bench, good bench depth. Now here is a bona fide starter, likely going to be in the top two of scoring on this team. It's Lamar Wilkerson. Got a glimpse of him in Puerto Rico, glimpse of him in the exhibition in the Cream and Crimson scrimmage. 6'5", 205-pound guard, played last year as a member of Sam Houston State's basketball team and showed out. Started all 32 games for the Bearcats, notably with a K. Bearcats, that's a unique one. Started all 32, 20.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2.1 assists. I mean, this is just a bona fide three-level scorer that can make an impact right away.
But he's one of the players that most Indiana fans are probably familiar with already. If you aren't, get ready to learn Lamar Wilkerson's name. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the country. He shot 44.5% on 245 attempts. It's not like he shot it 15 or 20 times. He shot the three-pointer 245 times and hit 45%. And Sam Houston State, they typically play a very tough non-conference schedule. They're playing the Indianas, the teams in the Big Ten, the SEC, all throughout. And he was a high-level performer. And it's not just the three-point shot. He gets to the rim very well. He knocks down his free throws. He's a smart player. He's a pretty good defender, too, and he's active. He's a leader. He's vocal on the court. He is... If you're not familiar with him already, get ready to learn Lamar Wilkerson's name because it's going to be said a lot this year.
Wilkerson, I remember when he committed and was talking with Jeff Goodman on the field of 68, he was talking about emphasizing his defense. That's where he needed to improve most. You know he's going to score. You know he's going to control this offense. But if he's able to defend, that could take his game up to another level. Also, did something that you have probably never seen before in donating some of his NIL money back to his former school in Sam Houston State. And in a college world of college athletics, it's so it just doesn't have loyalty in it. That was a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and he touched on how important Sam Houston State was to becoming the player that he is now, to end up at a school like Indiana. And like you said, it's kind of unprecedented. You're not used to seeing this in a land of how much money can I make for me? How can I benefit off myself? To give back to the school that kind of gave him that initial opportunity and molded him into this type of player is a really cool thing to see and a good way to get the fans on your side as well.
Now, this is a guy that will have fans on his side, Connor Enright. Wilkerson's working on his defense. Connor Enright, you can book him for defense every single game. He's the effort guy. I kind of watch him and I think of like a TJ McConnell.
He's not going to blow you away with his offense. He's an excellent defender. He's kind of a game manager. TJ McConnell's about as good of a comparison as you can get. He's your do-it-all guy. He's your prototypical glue guy that's going to do everything on the floor to help you win that may not show up in the stat sheet. And he's going to be a fan favorite very fast because of how hard he plays, how smart this kid is on the court. And he's very familiar with Coach DeVries. Played with him at Drake and then ended up going to DePaul. And now here at Indiana, back with Coach DeVries. He is going to be a player that a lot of fans enjoy watching. And people around the nation who aren't familiar with Indiana are going to be like, why are IU fans talking about this kid? He averages 5 points a game. He does everything for whatever team he plays for.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 91 career games at Drake and DePaul, 6 points per game, 3.3 assists, 2.7. I mean, it's not like the big fancy numbers that are going to blow you away. But you watch him play, he's diving on the floor, he's grabbing loose balls, he is just everywhere. And that's the guy that Darian DeVries wants in a team that is going to play fast.
They're going to play fast. And they're going to, like we said, we've talked about chemistry. There's no better way of gaining the trust of your teammates than diving on the floor for loose balls, being vocal on defense, being that leader on the court who's also willing to distribute and get other guys open, which I feel like he's going to have a huge role in this season.
Another guy with a huge role upcoming, it's going to look a little different. He's going to be kind of your distributor, your scorer, could be the starting point guard. It's Tatum Connerway. Had a really good trip to Puerto Rico, transfer from Troy, 13 points per game at Troy, 3.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He's another junior college guy, kept taking steps up, and full-time starter at Troy, 34 games last year, 14.2 points per game, 5 assists a game.
Was the Sun Belt Player of the Year as well at Troy. He's an excellent defender, was third in the country in steals last year with 98 steals. It's not a typo. He stole the ball 98 times from other teams. He scored in a way that you're maybe not used to seeing. He didn't shoot the three very well at all, but it was on a high rate. He shot the three a lot, but he's good at getting downhill. He's an excellent free throw shooter. He's still good at getting guys the ball, and he's a great defender. He's kind of your all-around point guard that you would like to have, is willing to distribute, is willing to get to the hole and draw fouls, and is willing to lock down the opposing team's best player on defense.
This is an interesting one. Listed as a guard, 6'7", don't laugh, 6'7", Nick Dorn from Elon. I mean, he's a shooter. He can shoot over guys with that height. He's been battling recovery for an injury. He had surgery on his foot, so don't know what his status is now. He's almost at full clearance in some reports from inside the hall from Assembly Hall. It's just Dorn could be, they just have guys. I mean, it's the best way to put it. They have guys that can shoot the ball.
And Coach DeVries said he's a little worried that Coach Signetti was going to come steal him and recruit him to play football. He's fast, he's athletic, he's a big physical guard that will shoot the three. He'll shoot over guys, he'll hunt his shot, and he'll rebound as well. He did really well with Elon. He said he's been missing a lot of time with his injury. He's going to have to make that up, obviously, but we talked about the guards coming off the bench. This team has so much depth in between guys that are like 6'6" to 6'8", 6'7", all those moving up and down the court that can score at all three levels, and Dorn's one of those guys that's able to do that.
And there was a little bit of a late ad here with Alexa Ristic. There are two late ads, and Ristic, another player from overseas, there are two on this roster, 6'3", 200 pounds, played in the FIBA U20 Eurobasket in Greece. He's Serbian. Played averaged 13.6 points a game, 4.2 assists, 3.2 rebounds for KK Dynamic over in Serbia. I don't know how much I expect him to play in year one with all the guard depth, especially as a true freshman. But if he needs to play, he's another guy that, believe it or not, can shoot the three ball.
There's a lot of unknowns with Ristic right now, and because when you play overseas, it's a different style of ball, it's a different brand of ball. We've seen Illinois kind of go under the idea of some of the best players in the world come from Europe. Why not take a shot, try to develop them, and turn them into good players? And Ristic may not play a lot, but he's got the physical attributes that you would like to see out of a prototypical number one guard or two guard. He can shoot the three, he gets to the rim very well. The defense is off and on with him, but you can see the basketball IQ is there, and the willingness to make the tough plays is there for Ristic. You kind of saw it in that Puerto Rico trip. He didn't see a whole lot of action, but made some really good plays down the stretch in some of those tight games for Indiana when they needed him to. I'm not sure what to expect of him, but I think he could be a key piece in some critical moments for Indiana. Lots
of depth, lots of experience in that guard group. 7 players on the roster listed as guards, and then this is kind of where Indiana, the concerns from the outside are starting to come in, is forward depth, big depth. Reed Bailey, Sam Alexis, Josh Harris, Trent Sisley, and Tucker DeVries, all listed as the forwards. Andre Asimovic, the one listed center. We don't know how much he's going to play. But this forward group lacks some height, makes up for it in athleticism and shooting ability, believe it or not. That's kind of the theme of this team.
They're not going to pound you inside. They're not going to maybe not out physical you, but they're not going to crash the boards. They're not going to be elite defensively inside either. They're going to rely a lot on their length, getting up and down the floor, being athletic, and getting all up in you in defending, and getting up and down the court in transition. You see the lack of really depth behind essentially Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis in that 4 or 5 position for Indiana, but it may not be a concern with the amount of height and length they have throughout their guards as well to potentially play 1 through 4.
Now, Reed Bailey is a really interesting piece on this team, and I think that he will be kind of one of those key factors that determines where this team goes offensively and defensively. 6'10", 230 pounds, from Davidson, 3 seasons at Davidson, 12.4 points a game, 4.9 rebounds. That's what stands out. 4.9 rebounds a game at 6'10", but he is the definition of a stretch 4. He's mobile, he can handle the ball, he can shoot. Really dynamic piece.
Yeah, people describe him as a really good cutter without the basketball, which we've kind of struggled to see from Indiana big men the past few years. He's good at finding open spots in the court. He's not a high-volume shooter. He is very, very good from 3, 41% from 3 at Davidson. One of my issues with Bailey is he's not really a great rim protector. Indiana really already lacks that, but opponents shot 60% when guarded by him inside the paint. That's a very high percentage for being 6'10" and the 4.9 rebounds. That concerns me a little bit, but you would hope, understanding that, hey, I'm the tallest guy on the court, I'm the most important piece potentially in the middle for Indiana this year. You see those numbers kind of go up a bit. You see a little bit more intensity on the defensive end to block some shots and be that rim protector, because on offense, there's not many things to complain about when it comes to Reed Bailey.
There's a lot of physicality that is within this forward group, and one of those players is Sam Alexis. And with Alexis, you can't understate how important it is to have a guy with experience at the biggest level. Sam Alexis, fresh off a national championship with the Florida Gators, makes his way to Bloomington, and that experience, I think, will really help this team get comfortable in the big moments.
Yeah, and you look at his numbers, they may not jump off the page, but people don't realize he was a regular in their rotation all the way until February. He had an injury that kind of knocked him out of the rotation the rest of the year, but he was an important piece of this Florida team that ended up running the table and winning the national championship. He's big 6'9" forward. He loves to rebound. He's not necessarily a great 3-point shooter, but he finds ways to score. He finds ways to impact the game outside of the stat sheet as well. He's going to have to take a huge role on the glass and inside for Indiana, because outside of Bailey and Alex, they don't have much height. They don't have a lot of inside scoring or necessarily experience as well. His role, his development is going to be huge for Indiana this year. 89
games at Chattanooga, last year at Florida for Sam Alexis. Now, we talked about one North Florida Osprey. Here's the second one. Josh Harris, he'll be wearing number 10 this year for Indiana. 6'8", 225, good frame. Shot 57% on 2s last year, 32% on 3s. 13.4 points per game, though, and led North Florida in rebounding at 7.1 points per game, or rebounds per game, I should say.
He's got an intense motor, and that was one of the first things that Coach DeVries talked about Josh Harris, that his willingness to do everything for the team and go after it in practice, in scrimmages, in competition, no matter who he's going against, is what drove him. And he's athletic. His wingspan is huge for being 6'8". He shoots the 3 at an okay spot. You expect that number to hopefully jump up with the amount of shooting around him as well. With North Florida, he kind of had to help lead that offense along with Josiah Miles. This is a guy that, if he can get healthy, he's been battling some injuries, could be one of those interesting pieces off the bench that has a bigger role than people expect him to have, just because of the scoring experience and how hard he plays.
2 more players listed in the forward spots, and these are 2 players that I personally am really excited to see. The first one, the king of the balcony above 5 guys, Trent Sisley, one of 2 true freshmen on this team from Heritage Hills High School, then transferred to Montverde Academy, which, you can never go wrong there, especially with the way Indiana's been recruiting out of there. Some good players from Montverde in Florida. Trent Sisley, 6'8", he can stretch the floor, he's athletic. And I think of the true freshmen that will play or could play, he will be a standout. 11.3 points per game in Puerto Rico in 22 minutes a game. It's a good start.
Yeah, including 60% from 3, 6 of 10 on those attempts. He was one of those players in Puerto Rico that stood out to me as, okay, this kid can play at a high level. This kid can shoot the basketball. And that was kind of his scouting report out of high school, is he can knock down the 3. He's sneaky athletic too. He got to the rim very, very well. And of course, we always use the term sneaky athletic for those knockdown shooters. He is a guy that defends very well. His basketball IQ is off the charts. Playing in Montverde at those top recruits as well helps you with that. He can flat out shoot the basketball. he is going to be a fan favorite as well. He's been an Indiana recruit for a while, stuck it out during Mike Woodson's departure, and he is going to be a very, very key piece for Indiana. And a true freshman spot. That's tough for a true freshman to come in and kind of have those expectations. I think he's going to do a fantastic job in that role this year.
So one more forward to talk about, and this is one that many Indiana fans are thinking could be team MVP, could be one of the most important players on this roster. And of course, we're talking about Tucker DeVries, the son of head coach Darian DeVries. Of course, 3 seasons at Drake, 1 season at West Virginia, dealt with injury with the Mountaineers, 17.7 points per game across his career, 5.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 37% from three-point range, and just accolades upon accolades. He's healthy this year, and I think that makes a huge difference.
The experience is what stands out to me as well. He knows, obviously, how his dad wants to play the brand of basketball. He's been there and done that. Was the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year with Drake. At West Virginia, he had a good start to the year before he got hurt as well. His basketball IQ, knowing the way that Coach DeVries wants it to be played, and his ability to score at all 3 levels. He's an excellent three-point shooter. He's physical enough to go score inside as well. He might be a lot of people's team MVP, maybe one of us in particular's MVP as well for this season. We'll find out later, but he is going to be, honestly, the most important piece for Indiana this year. How can he score? How can he lead the team? How will his transition into becoming kind of that team leader, if not the team leader, help bode well for this Indiana team this year?
One last player on the roster, scholarship player to go into, and it was a late addition and a really interesting long-term piece. Don't know how much he's going to play here in year 1. Andre Asimovic from Bosnia, 6'10", 240 pounds. He was not with the team in Puerto Rico, so some unanswered questions there, but he'll just be some depth behind Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis at the 5.
He's sort of your break glass in case of an emergency type of situation. A late addition. It doesn't seem like he's fully developed enough to play Big Ten college basketball at this moment in time, but has shown flashes. An excellent passer. He's got a pretty good skill set. Getting to learn behind Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis and get your body used to playing at the college level, I think will be huge for him, and he could be a very important piece down the line. I'm not sure how much we're going to see him this year, but a future building forward piece for Coach DeVries in Indiana.
So those are the 13 scholarship players. Some of those names may be familiar, some may not be. But Noah, I want to ask you a question. If you could predict your starting 5 right now, what is that going to be?
Putting me on the spot. I mean,
I can go first if you want.
You can go first. I've got an idea, but
okay. I think the 100% you can pencil them in: Lamar Wilkerson, Tatum Connerway, Tucker DeVries, and Reed Bailey. The question is, this is where they might switch things depending on what team they're playing. I think they go with another guard, a 4-guard set, and I honestly do think it could be Connor Emerson.
I was leaning that direction. I would like to see Sam Alexis, but then of course you mentioned the lack of depth behind him. If you run 2 bigs, where do you go from there? I like Nick Dorn if he's healthy. He kind of stretches the floor. He's 6'7". He can play 1 through 3, and you can have DeVries slide down to the 4 position, and you still have those 4-guard looks. If it's not Sam Alexis, I think it's the 4 that you mentioned alongside Nick Dorn in the starting lineup for Indiana.
This is where things got a little bit spicy last year with Austin Platt, talking about the non-conference schedule. Mr. Platt was not a big fan of the schedule last year and the philosophy of that scheduling, but it looks a lot different this year. There's some big games on the schedule. Marquette at the United Center in Chicago, Louisville at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, and Kentucky at Rupp Arena. I think that's the one that everybody's looking forward to, myself included. And then the rest of the non-conference is about what you would expect for an Indiana basketball schedule. Alabama, A&M, Milwaukee, Incarnate Word, Lindenwood, Kansas State could be interesting right here at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. There's a quick break with Minnesota to open the Big Ten slate, and then you go further, the non-conference, finishing it out with Chicago State and Siena. Favorite game in that non-conference slate?
Honestly, Kansas State is very intriguing to me. They're a program that's kind of been around the block. They know what they're doing, and it's during Thanksgiving break for Indiana. So you mentioned their home court, and how they get up for big games at Assembly Hall. Well, it's while students are on break. So will we see that big-time crowd? Will we see that big-time atmosphere against the Kansas State team that was receiving votes in the AP poll? They've been there. They've done that. They can stretch the floor. They're always a pretty athletic team. That game kind of stands out to me. Obviously, Kentucky and Louisville are the big ones. But Kansas State is kind of that under-the-radar game that I think is really important for Indiana to prove a type of team they are at the beginning of the year.
I'm really looking at Marquette. It's game 2 of the season after Alabama A&M. Of course, the 2 exhibitions, Baylor at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and Marion right here. Depending on when you're watching this, it's Friday. The game is on Friday. But I'm looking at that Marquette game at the United Center. Alumni base is massive in Chicago for Indiana, but Marquette does tend to travel as well. Shaka Smart has a good program brewing there. And just because it's game 2 of the season and you don't have that time to kind of mold together and see what this team is all about, I think that'll be interesting. Also of note, Louisville at Gainbridge Fieldhouse is the afternoon of the Big Ten football championship game at Lucas Oil. So that day, for Hoosier fans watching, keep that one in your tabs if you are participating in crossover season as well. Noah, you did some research on the Big Ten opponents, and many of them are ranked.
I posted this on Twitter yesterday about, based on the AP poll, how many of Indiana's opponents were ranked going into the season. Because, of course, Austin Platt had the big meltdown last year over the non-conference schedule. You always know the Big Ten's a tough conference, but you look, Indiana plays number 11 Louisville neutral. They play Kentucky on the road, number 7 Michigan, number 12 UCLA, and number 17 Illinois. Oh, those are all on the road, by the way, for this Indiana ball club. They get Michigan State and Purdue at home and away, and they also get Wisconsin at home. It's not an easy Big Ten schedule by any means. It's set up in a way that Indiana can kind of work in and out with not necessarily most back-to-back games being against ranked opponents, but there's a lot of opportunities for this Indiana team throughout the conference schedule to pick up those quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins. And you mentioned Marquette. That's one of those games that if you win at the beginning of the year could look really good in March, while both of those 2 teams could look vastly different. If you beat a Marquette team and then Marquette has an excellent rest of the year while they haven't been able to mesh and kind of figure things out together, is a huge resume builder without necessarily playing the Marquette team that's heating up towards March. That could be a huge one just 2 games into the season.
I want to take a look at these Big Ten road games. Purdue on the road, Michigan on the road, Illinois on the road, Michigan State on the road.
UCLA
of those, and UCLA, of those 5, which one do you think Indiana has the best chance to upset? Of course, noting that Indiana is not ranked in the preseason AP poll.
I would think your best chance of winning is most likely Illinois. I just think they're kind of unproven right now. There's a lot of questions about Illinois going forward. And Indiana somewhat had success inside that building as well. Of course, you could say Purdue based on their success against Purdue the most few years, but right now Purdue looks definitively like the best team in college basketball. They've got a very solid roster. Mackey Arena is always one of the toughest places to play. I'll go with Illinois, but it doesn't have to be Illinois. There's a lot of chances on this schedule to pick up a road win. And I think most Hoosier fans are happy to see that Wisconsin-ranked matchup is at home this year.
Yeah, the Kohl Center curse is real, and it was active last year. I think UCLA. I think Indiana could go out into Los Angeles, and that's an old-school matchup. It's a classic. I think Indiana could pull off the victory there, just with how those 2 teams are structured roster-wise. Now, preseason poll, Indiana is ranked 10th in the Big Ten media poll for the preseason, unranked in the AP. Real quick, fair, unfair changes, don't know, doesn't matter, opinions.
It doesn't matter, but it's also fair. So 10th in the Big Ten rankings honestly might be a little high because we don't know what this team looks like. We haven't seen them play. We haven't seen them on the court necessarily too much together outside of on Kirkwood and in the scrimmage. We'll find out on Friday, our first look against Marion, an NAIA school, but it doesn't matter. The Big Ten preseason rankings for a team that hasn't played together particularly do not matter. 10th, right in the middle, is a pretty good spot to rank a team that historically has been around the middle across the last few seasons.
All right. It's time for the season preview episode classic of the prediction game. This is a tradition here on House of Hoosier, and we're going to start big with Team MVP.
Team MVP, I'm going to go with Tucker DeVries because I think his importance both on and off the court is going to speak volumes. I've already mentioned how he knows the way his dad wants to run the system. He knows how to play top-level basketball, and I think his impact throughout the program is going to be important. It's not going to jump off the scoring chart unless he does, he's capable of that as well. I just think his overall style of play and the things he's going to do on the court for Indiana as a whole will give him the team MVP this year.
I'm going to go with the scoring of Lamar Wilkerson. Indiana has needed a bucket so many times in recent history, and they haven't always had the guy to get it. I think Wilkerson will turn into that guy. Who knows, maybe he could hit a game winner this year. There were, last year late in the stretch, there were many opportunities for that to happen, and it did not. We're going to skip Offensive Player of the Year because I think we kind of covered that. Tatum Conaway could be in the conversation, but Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to start out, I said this earlier, Connor Enright, just the effort that he brings, I think will earn Indiana at least a few more possessions a game than they could have had otherwise.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tatum Conaway. It seems like the very easy pick, being third in the NCAA in steals, but I think he adds a different dynamic because, especially in the Big Ten, you're going to go against some premier guards, and having a guard that you can stick on another team's best player every night and think you have a fantastic chance of winning is going to be huge. He may give up 15 to 20 points a game, but it's instead of giving a guy 25, 30 points a game, that's going to be huge. His defensive numbers are already great coming from Troy. He's a proven defender. I've got him for my Defensive Player of the Year.
Surprising player, I'm going to go with Reed Bailey. I think he's going to open some eyes across the Big Ten with his versatile style of play, with his ability to handle the ball, to shoot, to stretch the floor. And not a lot of people are talking about him. I think he'll make some noise in the Big Ten.
I like that pick, especially if he can sound off a defensive efficiency as well, become more of a shot blocker, and become an impact on the defensive end. I'm going to go with Trent Sisley. Obviously, the true freshman, he might capture the nation by storm, and Indiana fans as well. The way he played in Puerto Rico, the way we've seen him capable of playing at Montverde against top-tier competition, if he steps in and have a big start to the season, you could see him maybe even jump into the starting lineup towards the end of the year. You could see his impact on this Indiana team being the most important one, and I've got him as the surprise player of the year. He could have a fantastic season for Indiana.
Record, tournament, and Big Ten finish. These are three big ones. I'll let you hit this one first.
Record, I've got him getting 13 Big Ten wins, maybe 12. The Big Ten schedule is tough. They've got all those road contests. But Indiana historically finds ways to win at home, and I think Coach DeVries has talked about wanting to defend home court and making this one of the toughest places to play, and I think they do that. In the non-con, I think they win every non-con game except Kentucky. Louisville's a toss-up as well because Louisville's such a talented team. Indiana had struggles with that team last year, of course. Different roster, different situation. I just think the high of Indiana football potentially being in the Big Ten championship game that night as well might carry over into basketball taking over. So I've got them probably beating Louisville as well. The tournament, I think they could sneak in Joe Lenardi's most recent ESPN bracketology at Indiana as the first team out. I think they somehow sneak in the tournament. If you pick up 13 Big Ten wins and win every game in your non-con except Kentucky, you're probably in the NCAA tournament.
I'm on a very similar path as you. I think they'll win 12 Big Ten games. I think one will get lost in the mix there. I do think they lose the Louisville game in Indianapolis. And it is kind of dependent on what happens with Indiana football, because if Indiana football is playing in the Big Ten championship game, who knows? You could lose your entire home crowd for the basketball game. The timing is important. Basketball games at 2 p.m., football games at 8 p.m. You don't know how many people are going to double up there. But also Louisville's just such a talented team. Pat Kelsey knows what he's doing at Louisville, so I'm kind of in the same boat except for those two. Last thing, bold prediction. Here's mine. I've kind of hinted at it in the beginning of this episode. Indiana will lead the Big Ten in three-point makes, three-point shots, and really every three-point category that there is.
I think that's a good prediction because we looked at the type of roster that Coach DeVries is bringing in, and they're all guys that are willing to shoot the three and want to shoot the three ball as well. And we've seen Indiana not be a team that can shoot the three or free throws very well for that matter. Just shooting in general hasn't been a strength of Indiana basketball as recent, and seeing that flip could be huge and could lead into my prediction. I think Indiana but finds their way into the top 15 in the AP poll at some point this year. I went with a very bold prediction, but we laid out all the ranked games they have. We laid out the opportunities they have. If you go on a stretch in the Big Ten, you win 5 in a row, including a road win at Michigan, and then you beat Iowa, and you play Michigan State close. Maybe you steal a win at the Breslin Center as well. I think Indiana, at some point this season, if they're leading the Big Ten in three-point makes, they're going to be in every single game this year, and they somehow find their way into the top 15.
We will have to see. Last thing before we wrap it up, there's a brand new segment. With the changing landscape of Indiana basketball, we're going to change some things here on House of Hoosier. Brand new mailbag segment. We have 3 options for you: phone line, Twitter, and Instagram DMs, and we want to hear your takes, anything that you want us to talk about. Phone line, 812-269-6478. Again, 812-269-6478. You'll leave a voicemail. Your voicemail clip, if it's selected, will be played on the podcast. It'll be the first time we hear it, and we will respond to it. Also, Twitter @House_Hoosier, Instagram @HouseOfHoosier, and we cannot wait to see what you Indiana basketball fans come up with.
Yeah, we know that Indiana basketball fans are some of the most passionate, maybe some of the most reactionary fans in the country as well. And I'm quite excited to get the outside perspective as well. We are both hopefully covering the team. We'll have you covered with game updates, all that on social media as well. But having some interaction between us and you guys may bridge the gap a little bit, get you guys some more interaction as well. And also, your takes being the first time that we hear them on the podcast, we'll get a true, pure reaction. And I'm quite excited for this new segment. I think you guys, and I think we are going to have a lot of fun with that.
Could this be the debut of Gerkey AI as well, potentially?
It might have to be.
All right, for Noah Gerkey, Ian Plaskoff, a big thanks to our producer, Henry Thuss. That wraps up our season preview from the beautiful sun-splashed South Lobby